I'm here in Oregon again with my family. So both my children live in the Pacific Northwest, and the one that has 2 grandchildren lives in Oregon. So I come here to visit from time to time because grandkids. And when I'm here, I try to see if I could sit outside and enjoy the different kind of beauty than my normal Maui home, and see if I have any things to share with you, which today I do. So the other day I was with my grandson and we went down the street to a place that has a little bit of a food truck area, food truck court. And one of the places makes boba and he likes boba tea. So we went down there to get a boba. And as I was getting out of the car, I see somebody coming towards me. Young man, maybe in his mid-30s, thereabouts, riding on a bike. And on the back of the bike, he's just got this big, long stick, driving towards us. So I immediately, watching this happen, go, here's a different kind of person. And I love different people. I love that we have such a variety of people in the world that make it interesting. And I've been doing my best to just try and let people be who they are and be curious about who they are and why. So as he's coming towards me, I nod and say hello. And he stopped. And sometimes you can't always tell with people, but sometimes people you can kind of tell they're unhomed or they're in between things, and there's quite a lot of that these days, just in general. But in the Oregon area, there's quite a few people who are, since COVID times, unhomed and kind of roaming around doing things. And a lot of them, in my experience, my encounter, have little things they're selling. And I am always intrigued by that. I always want to know what they have and why, and just hear a little bit of their story. So he stopped and, he approached me and it's like, hey, would you like to buy some sap? And he held up this little a bag with these in there, but I couldn't quite tell what it was. And I'm like, sap. And then he had a little stick that he had written sort of his speech on of like what it was and all that stuff, which I couldn't quite read it all. I said, tell me about that. What is this? And he goes, well, it's pine sap. I said, pine sap? I said, why are you selling pine sap? And he said, because I'm broke. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry, but great answer. Can you tell me a bit more, like why pine sap? And he got really excited and animated, and I could totally relate to the story he's telling me. He goes, well, there was this tree. It was all chopped down and it was just like oozing all of the sap. So I gathered it all up and I refined it, and now I'm selling it. And I said, well, what? I have no idea even what's it good for? And he goes, well, it has many uses, and he gave me a few things that as pine sap could be used for. And I'm like, okay, fine. How much? And I don't know if this was the first day he was trying to sell his pine sap, or if I was the first person to actually be interested in it. So he came up with a number, like to see if I would be okay with that. And I'm like, oh, okay, that sounds great. Thank you. And so we chatted a little bit longer and he went on his way. And I thought a couple different things, and this is why I'm sharing the story. Number one, we have no idea where people are coming from. So if it is within your means to help another human out, do it. What they do with that help is up to them. But if you can help, do it. That's my opinion. Number two, they're people. If they want to share their story with you and you have the time and the energy to listen to the story, do it. Because the more connections we make in this life, the more interesting it is. And the third thing is, you just never know when something's going to cross your path that will tickle you and give you a story and an amusing little anecdote. So be on the lookout for weird little things that happen. So I was just delighted. So I looked it up afterwards. To refine pine sap, you have to kind of gather it up and you have to heat it down and remove the impurities. It's like a whole process. And then he's got these little pucks, and they're called rosin, which many of you knew, and they're used for lots of things. Go look it up and you can see, but I think if you can kind of see the light coming through here, it's kind of got a clear as you would expect, and it's hard, it's not gooey. And it's so cute because on the back it's got 100% pine sap, and on the front sap. And I recognize the look of this. This is labels that often come when you buy a kit of little jars that are for spices. So a lot of times at Christmas time, you can buy the spice jars that have the empty jars, and then there's a whole bunch of these stickers. So somehow he has a white pen and all these stickers, and he put it all together in these little bags. And I just found the whole thing so interesting because I absolutely get this feeling of, look at this thing out there in nature that is a thing of value, I can't just walk by and let that go unused. And I, of course, like with foraging, it's like, look at all those ripe things, or look at those herbs ready to pick, or look at that wood on the side of the road. I wonder what I could make with that. And oh, somebody's throwing away this bag of rocks. So I also have that nature that sees the potential for things. So I can totally imagine if I was this person seeing this tree that had been cut down on the side of the road and it just had pine sap, and knowing I could refine that and turn it into something. And then, of course, the market for on the street buyers of pine sap pucks is limited. So that part of the connecting it to a capitalistic marketing viewpoint is perhaps wasn't as strong. But hey, I am glad I was in the right place at the right time to have some 100% pine sap, because now I love it so much for no reason. And it does smell pretty good. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you guys, because just random things happen all the time, and they happen a little bit more frequently in Oregon than some places. And you never know. And obviously, be safe. You know, if somebody's wielding a knife and foaming at the mouth, I tend not to chat with them. But if it's just a friendly-looking guy with a giant stick on his bike and a bag full of sap pucks, why not chat with him and see a little glimpse into somebody else's world for a minute? You never know. You'll be the richer for it. And he got a few bucks to go maybe have the difference between a day that had some food in it or a warm beverage or whatever it is he needed, and a day that didn't. Plus, he also got to have someone else who appreciated seeing the world from his eyes for a minute to understand something that he felt was a treasure. And isn't that fun when we can give that to each other? Because that's what it's all about, isn't it? Every one of us have something that's important to us that isn't important to everybody, but we find the few people who's it also important to, and man, that makes life worthwhile. So, happy creating, happy looking for the weirdness of life, and enjoy 100% pine sap in whatever form it takes in your life. Bye!